So we've all heard the great debate of nature versus nurture, and for the longest time, I was set on thinking nature imposed more on a person than nurture actually did. I had heard that there were physical chemical imbalances that take place in the hippocampus of someone's brain that made them feel certain ways. I reasoned that because they were physical, they had to stem from fertilization of the egg. You were born with these characteristics, the ones you had, the ones you have, and the ones you will receive. Recently, I thought, this isn't really the case. I'm taking a genetics class right now. We've just finished our epigenetics unit. Literally the test was like a week ago. Epigenetics is the study of inheritable changes in a gene expression that does not involve changes in the DNA sequence itself. So just to remind you guys, DNA is a sequence of nucleotides that code for different proteins and RNAs. The DNA in a single cell can span about 6 feet in length, which is crazy to think about, because how is that going to fit in a microscopic cell? Well, DNA is actually wrapped around these sets of 8 histone proteins, which reduce the length of the DNA. Kind of like wrapping around this R2D2 here. It makes it a lot smaller, more compact, and easy to store. Histones not only control the length of the DNA, but they control the expression of the gene. The tighter they are wound around the histone, the less the gene is expressed. This is called histone modification. There are other ways the expression can be altered through different methyl groups. They can attach to the DNA sequence itself and inhibit transcription of the DNA, which means basically it can't be read by the polymerase. Many abnormalities, disorders, and even cancers have been linked to methylation like this. The last way gene expression can be changed is similar to methylation with non-coding RNAs. They're small little sets of nucleotides that have opposing sequences to genes, and they open up the DNA and they insert themselves into the gene, and through complementary base pairing, they line up, kind of like a puzzle. Your DNA is covered in these little modifications that I just talked about, on these little tags, and it helps with differentiation of cells. So whether or not it's a muscle cell, liver cell, a toe cell, etc. So why do we care about this? Well, actually, these chemical tags can accumulate throughout your life. Have you ever wondered why children hardly ever get cancer? It's a little weird to think about, but you get cancer through exposure to an environment. And with exposure comes changes to your epigenome. We all know that mothers can't drink or smoke while they're pregnant, or they're highly risk giving their child some terrible condition. What if I told you anything a mother has ever done throughout her entire life can affect her unborn child? A great example of this is found within the Great Dutch Famine. A future mother experiencing starvation produced a chemical tag that changes her epigenome, but it also highly increases her child's chance of obesity and heart problems. The decision to have a child probably hasn't even crossed this woman's mind, but because she created this chemical tag, her child has a much higher chance of getting either of those horrible diseases. It's just insane to think about, and it doesn't even stop there with the mother. A male can pass on his epigenome tags as well. A study was done on mice. Where small modification was done to a gene, allowing them to track the histones. They found the mice with this mutation became infertile, and the mice that were unaffected produced sperm with very similar histone structure as early embryos. The experiment was a little more complicated than that, but researchers concluded that parental histones do in fact transfer into the next generation. Basically everything can affect your genome. It's a little scary to think about, but not receiving enough attention at a young age can affect your grandchildren. Fathers can lower the IQ of their unborn child simply by taking a diet high in folic acid. Mothers exposed to pollution are much more likely to have children with asthma. This new field of science is only a couple years old, but they have no idea what these changes do to your kids. The main problem we're fighting right now, I believe, is global warming. But what if we somehow solve global warming? What if the next generation's problem is their own DNA? What if what they're fighting is our climate-altered DNA that they've inherited? All of these things that you're experiencing have a high chance of passing on to the next generation. And I want you to realize that if you're in some way harming your body, whether that's an unhealthy diet, lack of exercise, drinking, or even drugs, everything you are doing with your body affects the children you are trying so hard to give the world to in the future. It's not just you anymore, it's them as well. So I want you to be a little more responsible and think outside the box and think about your future. Because we are moving on to college, but what's next?